We spend our lives waiting for the big break, the promotion, the award, the miracle moment. But in chasing those distant peaks, we forget the quiet steps that carry us there. Life has a way of convincing us that the only things worth remembering are the big achievements. We are told that life is measured in milestones, and that the most important days are the ones marked with ceremonies or recognition. A graduation, a wedding, a new job, a major award. These are the days we take photographs of and share with others. But the truth is that most of our life is not lived in those moments. Most of it is lived in the ordinary. The quiet mornings when the sun touches the window. The brief conversations with someone we love. The times we laugh at something silly and forget about the weight of the world for a while. If you look closely, you realize that it is these small moments that shape the quality of your life. The big wins may give you a temporary surge of joy, but the small moments create the rhythm of your existence. Think about the times you have felt genuinely happy. It was not always when you achieved something monumental. It was maybe when a friend sent you a kind message out of nowhere, or when you sat with a cup of tea after a long day and felt a little piece of peace, or the sound of rain against the window that reminded you the world is bigger than your worries. These things do not demand attention, yet they carry weight. They remind us that joy is not only in arriving somewhere grand, but in noticing where we already are. If you chase only the big wins, you will miss the soft gifts scattered across the path. The world often tells us that small moments are insignificant because they cannot be measured on a scale of success. But if you look at the way memory works, you will see that it is the small details that stay. You might not remember the speech at an award ceremony, but you remember the feeling of your mother's hand squeezing yours in the crowd. You might not recall the full day of your graduation, but you remember the nervous laugh you shared with a friend before walking on stage. These are the threads that hold the larger fabric together. Without them, the big wins would feel empty. They would have no depth. The irony is that the big wins themselves are built out of small moments. A gold medal is made from years of unseen practice. A book release is made from countless hours of writing in solitude. A happy marriage is built from small acts of care repeated over and over again. We do not see the small steps, but they are the foundation. If you ignore them, you will chase a finish line that collapses the moment you cross it. The secret is to see the process, not just the result. To realize that every small moment of patience, kindness, practice, or reflection is not just background noise, but the essence itself. There is also another truth about small moments. They are accessible to all of us. Not everyone will win awards or earn recognition, but everyone can sit with a loved one and listen. Everyone can watch a sunset. Everyone can share a laugh. Everyone can choose to pay attention to the quiet details that make life softer. This is where the meaning lies, not in comparison or competition, but in awareness. The small moments democratize joy. They belong to everyone, and they cannot be taken away because they exist in the present. They are free and they are infinite. When you shift your focus from waiting for the big win to noticing the small moment, you suddenly see life differently. You stop postponing happiness until someday, and instead you live in the today. The walk to the bus stop becomes a chance to notice the way the air feels on your skin. The routine breakfast becomes a ritual of care for yourself. The brief chat with a colleague becomes an exchange of humanity. Nothing is wasted because every moment is carrying something if you are willing to pay attention. That is the gift of the small. It is not loud, but it is always here. It is easy to overlook the small because it does not announce itself with noise or celebration. The world rewards the loud and the dramatic, and so we begin to think that only those things have value. Yet when you slow down enough to notice what is right in front of you, there is a shift. The way the morning light falls across the table becomes something sacred. The sound of children playing in the distance becomes a reminder that joy still exists. The smell of food cooking in the evening becomes a signal of care and continuity. These are not dramatic, but they are grounding. They bring you back to the present moment, and that is where life is truly lived. Many people spend years chasing after one big victory only to find themselves empty after achieving it. A person dreams of buying a house or a car, and when it happens, the excitement lasts for a while, but soon it fades. A student works endlessly for a degree, and once it is earned, there is a moment of pride, and then a question of what comes next. The big win gives you a high, but it cannot sustain you forever. The reason is because our hearts are not designed to live only in highlights. We are designed to find meaning in the everyday. Without that, the big wins are like fireworks, bright for a second and then gone, leaving only smoke in the sky. This is why people often look back and realize that the happiest times of their life were not the peak moments, but the simple ones. The long drives with no destination, the evenings spent talking with a friend until midnight, the days that felt ordinary but now glow in memory because they were filled with warmth. We do not realize their value while they are happening because we are distracted by the dream of something bigger. But memory has a way of revealing the truth. What stays with us are not the trophies, but the shared glances, the laughter, the quiet moments of being fully alive. Small moments also teach us patience. They remind us that not everything important happens instantly. A seed takes time to grow. A relationship deepens slowly through shared experiences. A skill is sharpened through repetition over months and years. If you are always rushing toward the big outcome, you miss the lesson of the process. And the process is where you become who you are. The small acts repeated over time shape character far more than a single event. Success is not what happens to you once, but what you cultivate in yourself every day. That cultivation is invisible to others, but it is the truest work of living. There is also tenderness in small moments. The way a stranger holds a door open for you, the way a loved one remembers something small about you and brings it up later, the way a song comes on the radio that connects you instantly to a memory from years ago. None of these things win awards, but they win something greater. They win your heart back from numbness. They awaken gratitude. They remind you that you are part of a world that still carries beauty, even when it feels heavy. The tenderness is what keeps us soft in a world that often tries to make us hard. When you start noticing these moments, you find that they are everywhere. Life becomes less about waiting for something extraordinary to happen and more about realizing that the extraordinary is already here. The way someone smiles at you in passing, the warmth of water when you wash your hands, the breath that fills your lungs when you stop for a second and pay attention. These are small things, and yet they matter more than we admit. They are the texture of life. The winds are like peaks on a mountain range, but the valleys, the rivers, the fields are what actually hold. There is a quiet truth that the older we get, the more we realize how fleeting time is. When we are young, we think life is all about chasing achievements, stacking titles, and reaching higher peaks. But as the years pass, we begin to see that the memories that stay with us are not the grand victories, but the little snapshots that come without warning. You remember the way your father looked at you when you said something funny at the dinner table. You remember the feeling of sitting on a porch during a summer evening, listening to the hum of the world. You remember the comfort of someone making you soup when you were sick. These are not recorded in history books, but they are written in the heart. They are what make you feel alive and connected to others. The culture we live in trains us to value productivity over presence. We are taught to constantly measure progress by visible results and big achievements. Because of this, we overlook the invisible progress that is happening in the quiet hours. Reading a single page of a book may feel unimportant, but if you do it every day, you will finish more books than you thought possible. Writing one paragraph may feel too small, but over time it becomes chapters, and eventually a whole story. Taking a short walk each day may not feel like much, but it builds health and clears the mind. These small acts matter more than waiting for the perfect moment to make a massive leap. The truth is, the massive leap is only possible because of the countless small steps that no one sees. Another way to look at it is to imagine life as a painting. The big wins are like bold strokes of color that catch your eye, but the small moments are the thousands of subtle details that give the painting its depth. Without them, the painting would feel empty and incomplete. Without them, the bold strokes would have no context. Imagine if all you had were highlights with nothing in between. The story of your life would not make sense. The highlights shine because of the background that holds them, and that background is made of small moments. That is why they matter more than we realize. Sometimes we think we will finally feel complete when we achieve something big. When we get the job, when we buy the house, when we receive the recognition. But that sense of completion never lasts because life keeps moving. There will always be another goal, another mountain, another hunger. The only way to break free from that endless chase is to anchor yourself in the small, to notice the joy of your morning routine, to appreciate the warmth of a friend's voice, to recognize that even washing the dishes can be a moment of stillness if you allow it to be. This is not about lowering ambition, but about balancing it with awareness. Ambition without awareness leads to emptiness. Awareness without ambition leads to peace. Together they create a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling. The danger of ignoring small moments is that you miss your life while waiting for it to begin. You convince yourself that happiness will come when you finally reach the peak. But while you are climbing, you are already living. The journey is not a rehearsal for the future. It is the actual story. Every ordinary day is part of the masterpiece. The hug from a child, the way the sky looks before rain, the silence shared between two people who do not need words. If you dismiss these as unimportant, you are throwing away the very fabric of life. You are chasing shadows while the substance is right in front of you. The beauty is that you can begin right now. You do not need permission or a special event. You only need to pause and notice. Notice your breath. Notice the way your body carries you without asking for thanks. Notice that you are alive in this moment, and that alone is a miracle. These are not small at all once you realize their value. They are everything. There is something almost fragile about the small moments, and maybe that is why they hold so much meaning. They are easy to miss, and once they are gone, you cannot get them back. You cannot return to the exact way your child sounded when they laughed at 5 years old. You cannot recreate the same sunset that colored the sky on a particular evening. You cannot go back to the exact warmth of a conversation that happened at a bus stop with someone you never saw again. These things happen once, and then they vanish into memory. They seem small at the time, but later you realize they are irreplaceable. The big wins are often repeatable. Another achievement can be chased, but the fleeting small moments are one of a kind. When you start to pay attention to these moments, you also begin to see how they are tied to gratitude. Gratitude does not usually come from receiving something massive. It comes from noticing what is already here. The sound of a bird outside your window, the comfort of a blanket on a cold night, the taste of food when you are hungry. Gratitude grows when you let yourself see these as gifts instead of ordinary background noise, and gratitude changes everything. It softens the heart and shifts the focus from scarcity to abundance. You realize that your life is already full of treasures, even if the world does not see them as impressive. The treasures are personal, and they are what sustain you when the pursuit of bigger things feels exhausting. There is also a healing quality to small moments. In times of struggle, the big solutions are often out of reach. If you are going through grief or loss, no single achievement will erase the pain. But sometimes a quiet walk, a kind word, or the sight of something beautiful can carry you through a difficult day. These moments do not fix everything, but they remind you that not all is lost. They remind you that even in the darkest times, there are still traces of light. This is what helps you keep moving forward, one small step at a time. Healing is never a sudden victory. It is the slow accumulation of gentle moments that give you strength to face another day. It is worth noticing that small moments are not just personal, they are also shared. A relationship is built not on one grand gesture, but on countless small interactions. The way someone listens when you speak, the way they show up when you need them, the way they remember your preferences and make small adjustments out of care. These details are what make you feel safe and loved. Without them, a relationship cannot last, no matter how dramatic the declarations of love may be. Big wins in relationships, like anniversaries or proposals, are beautiful, but they rest on the foundation of the daily small acts. The foundation is what truly matters. In the same way, communities are held together, not by one-time events, but by small acts of kindness repeated across time. A neighbor who checks in on you, a stranger who gives directions when you are lost, a teacher who takes a few extra minutes to encourage a student. These are not celebrated in headlines, but they are the glue that holds society together. They are the proof that humanity is sustained not only by great leaders and historic moments, but by ordinary people doing small things that make life gentler for one another. This truth is humbling and beautiful because it means everyone has the power to contribute. What makes small moments matter more than big wins is their accessibility and their frequency. You may have only a handful of big wins in your entire lifetime, but you will have thousands of small moments. If you value them, they become a source of endless richness. If you ignore them, life begins to feel like an empty waiting room where you are always anticipating something, but never living. The choice is always present. You can rush past or you can notice. And noticing is the beginning of living fully. Sometimes people confuse small moments with mediocrity. They think that noticing and appreciating the simple things means giving up on ambition or settling for less. But this is not true. Appreciating small moments is not about lowering the bar. It is about raising awareness. It is about understanding that greatness is not only found at the top of the mountain, but also in the steps that lead there. A musician who wins an award for their work does not become great on that one night. They became great in the countless hours they spent practicing scales alone in their room. A doctor who saves a life in a dramatic surgery does not earn their skill in that single operation. They built it through years of small study sessions and patient encounters. The greatness is hidden in the ordinary days. The big win only shines a spotlight on what was already created quietly. This realization can take pressure off as well. Many people feel anxious because they believe they must constantly achieve something big to prove their worth. They measure themselves against others who appear to be winning more often. This creates a cycle of stress and inadequacy. But if you shift the measure to small moments, The pressure softens. You no longer need to wait for a life-changing breakthrough to feel valuable. You can find meaning in cooking a meal for yourself and enjoying it. You can find meaning in being present during a conversation with a friend. You can find meaning in finishing a small task that needed your attention. These are victories, too. They may not be glamorous, but they are real, and they accumulate into something much larger over time. There is also a certain honesty in small moments. Big wins often come with expectations and outside validation. They can be influenced by how others see you. A promotion might depend on the judgment of a boss. An award might depend on a committee. Even fame can depend on trends and timing. But small moments belong only to you. No one can take away the joy you feel when you notice a beautiful sky. No one can measure the peace you experience when you read a page of a book that speaks to your soul. These are private treasures. They are untouched by judgment. They remind you that not all value needs to be public. Some value is deeply personal and invisible, yet it is no less real. Living for small moments also builds resilience. When big wins are rare and uncertain, it is easy to become discouraged, if that is your only source of joy. But when you learn to collect the small, you are never empty-handed. Even on difficult days, you can still find something. A brief smile, a kind gesture, a piece of music, a breath of fresh air. These may not solve everything, but they provide fuel. They remind you that not all is lost. They keep your spirit alive until brighter days return. In this way, small moments are like drops of water that prevent your well from going dry. They may not feel dramatic, but without them, you would not survive the droughts. Another thing to consider is that small moments train you to be present. So often we live in the future or the past. We regret what already happened, or we worry about what has not yet arrived. The small moment pulls you into now. It invites you to pay attention to what is here instead of what is gone or what might come. And now is the only place where life actually exists. You cannot breathe in the past, and you cannot breathe in the future. You can only breathe here. To value the small is to value the present, and to value the present is to value life itself. The irony is that when you start living like this, you also perform better in the long run. By focusing on the process and the moment, you become more consistent and grounded. Instead of burning out chasing the next big thing, you find rhythm and sustainability. This rhythm leads to growth that lasts. And when the big win eventually comes, you can actually enjoy it because you were not holding your happiness hostage until that moment. You were already living. When you begin to understand why small moments matter more than big relationship with time changes, you stop treating the present as something to be endured until a better future arrives. You stop rushing through days as if they are just stepping stones up to something more important. Instead, you realize each day is already complete. It may not have fireworks or applause, but it carries its own quiet richness. The way you stir your coffee, the way you look out of a window and see people going about their lives, the way someone laughs at your joke, even if it is not very funny. These details may seem small, but they are not empty. They are the texture of life. Without them, the days would collapse into nothingness. With them, even an ordinary Tuesday can feel profound. There is also freedom in this perspective. If you believe only big wins matter, then your worth rises and falls with circumstances you cannot always control. But when you know the value of the small, you are never without something meaningful. You can lose a job and still notice the kindness of a friend who supports you. You can face rejection and still savor the taste of a meal that comforts you. You can walk through uncertainty and still be moved by the beauty of a song. This does not erase struggle, but it gives you a foundation that cannot be taken away. The foundation is awareness. The foundation is presence. The foundation is gratitude for what is already here. Many people look back on their lives and wish they had slowed down. They realize too late that they were so focused on chasing the next milestone that they missed the sweetness of what was already unfolding. The childhood years of their children, the companionship of their partner, the health and energy of their younger days. These things do not last forever. When they are gone, you cannot buy them back. That is why it is vital to honor them while they are here. Not in dramatic ways, but in simple ways. Put down the phone during a meal. Really listen when someone is talking to you. Pause long enough to feel the sun on your skin. These are not small when you understand their real weight. They are the core of life. There is another gift hidden in small moments. They create connection. A stranger holding the door open for you is not just politeness. It is a reminder that we are part of something larger than ourselves. A child smiling at you in a grocery store is not just a passing event. It is a spark of shared humanity. A loved one making you laugh is not just entertainment. It is intimacy. These threads weave us together. They do not make headlines, but they are what make the world less lonely. Without them, even the biggest achievements would feel hollow, because what good is victory if you cannot share it with others? In the end, big wins will always come and go. Some will make you proud, some will fade quickly. But the small moments are constant. They are always available if you choose to notice them. They are always offering their quiet gifts. They are always enough. When you realize this, you no longer wait for life to begin. You are already living it. You are already in the middle of something meaningful, even if the world does not stop to celebrate it. The celebration is private, but it is real. It is in your heart, and it is in your memory. That is why the small matters more than the big, because the small is where life actually happens. So let the world chase its trophies. Let the world obsess over the rare peaks. You can climb if you want, but do not forget to look around while you do. The view is not only at the summit. It is in every step, every breath, every shared glance along the way. This is the truth hidden in plain sight. The small moments are not small at all. They are the very thing that make a life worth living.